I'm going to demonstrate here how to calibrate the servo unit for the focus on the lens. This is the same for both Fujinon and Canon. You probably notice this. This is very hard to do with one hand, but there's a screw there which attaches the top of the servo unit, and there's a screw down there that attaches the bottom. I suggest when you're mounting the servo unit, you put the bottom screw in first, but don't tighten it, and then put the top screw in and don't tighten it, and then go back and tighten the bottom screw and then tighten the top screw, because you want this thing to fit perfectly. I'm trying to focus here as well. Fit perfectly around the static ring of the lens. Now, before you actually do the calibration, you've got to loosen off the knob. Let me just put this down here. As I said, this is going to be very hard to do with one hand, but I'll give it my best. So on the front of the servo unit, this is a clutch system. It clutches and clamps onto the back plate, and the actual servo ring itself. There's an outer and an inner, which is joined together to create the clutch, and then there's this tightening knob. So you just turn that around. We'll show you in a moment. We'll tighten that around to tighten it on. But at the moment, to calibrate, we're going to loosen it off so that the actual lens itself, the focus of the lens, is turning without turning the servo. And if you have a look up under here, you'll see I'm turning the lens. It's turning the gear, but it's not actually turning the servo system here, because we've got this loosened off. So the thing is, what you do is that you attach it, and then you turn the lens until it's the complete opposite end of where the infinity is. So I've got that turned hard to the opposite of infinity. If you have a look on the lens itself, there's a little infinity. It's up underneath, but there's a little infinity marker. We want it to be right up this end here, the opposite end. And then once we've done that, and as I say, we're still not engaged yet, the clutch is disengaged, we're then going to go to the controller box. We're going to press and hold the setup button so that we go into setup mode, and it goes white, and then while we're waiting, we're going to hold, push in the focus unit. And you probably heard that noise. That was the servo system resetting it back to the wide position. What I'll do is that I'll come out of that, we'll come out, automatically comes out of that mode. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate the focus knob, and you'll see the servo system in there is turning without turning the gear, because we've disengaged the clutch. And I'm just going to go into this mode again. We're going to press and hold the setup button, and press and hold. And we take our finger off, I'll go to white, and while we're waiting, we're going to be pressing and holding in the focus button, which is a push in on the focus. And again, you heard the servo unit winding all the way back out. And once we're in that mode and we have set this all the way to the opposite end of infinity, is all we need to do then is just tighten the clamp on the servo focus servo. So now we've got that tightened all the way, we can now operate the focus. I'll just turn it here, and you'll see now that the focus, it's actually, the lens is walking on the desk, and it's actually, you can, if it's set properly, you should be able to wind it all the way back, and it won't go anywhere past the beginning of the focus, and then you should be able to wind it all the way forward. I don't seem to be able to get it to stop moving. I'll see if I can hold it up. It'll be very precarious. And then I'm just going to turn the focus. We've gone dark all of a sudden. Right, there we go. We're turning the focus, and then it will focus all the way out to infinity. And in there, that's all the way around. The infinity markers are around the other side. I'll see if I can find it while I've got it up here. Yeah, there's infinity there. So we've now wound that all the way up to infinity, so we've got the full range of the focus servo. Now, just a warning here, if you don't calibrate this properly, you'll find that the motor will still try and drive the focus, and it could strip the gears. And this is designed so the gear cog here, the one that I provide, is actually ABS plastic, but it's very strong, and in most cases it'll work properly. But if you miscalibrate it, and then it starts turning the servo motor when the lens is at either end, it will more than likely, in fact it will always strip this gear before it'll affect the lens. So you're not going to damage the lens. If you strip the gear, you can always use a different part of the gear. In most cases the gear will it'll jump out, and then you have to recalibrate it. And if you do it really badly, this actual gear itself has got it's got an outer and an inner ring. The inner ring is plastic welded to the outer ring, and in severe cases it will break the weld, it'll break the weld instead of damaging the lens in any way. And then of course if the weld is broken, you can either re-weld it yourself or glue it back on again. But you know, I don't think anybody's that stupid not to calibrate the focus. And of course, if you want to take the focus mechanism off, you can always recalibrate it again that easily. And if I again just press the setup button, long press the setup button. I hope this lens doesn't fall over when I do this. If I long press the setup button and then hold in the button on the focus, it should again take my finger off. Okay, it didn't do it that time. Let me just try that again. Long press. Hold the finger on the button. Oh, that's all right. I've unplugged it, but that's all right. So, so that's it. That's basically how you calibrate the focus servo unit to the lens.